You bought new wheels. The dealer swore everything was legal, no problem. Then the inspector shakes his head. Your wheels have a valid certificate. Your lowering kit does too. But both approvals only apply to the stock configuration of your vehicle. For the combination, you now need a full individual inspection, several $100s. And if you've been driving in between, no valid operating permit, no insurance coverage, that sounds like an unfortunate edge case. It isn't. I've been a mechanic for 20 years. In that time, I've seen hundreds of vehicle owners fall into exactly this trap. Not because they were careless, but because nobody explained how the system actually works. And since June 20th, 2025, something fundamental changed in German vehicle registration law that almost nobody noticed. Today, I'll show you what changed, why modifications became more expensive and more complicated, and which mistakes you absolutely must avoid. The operating permit is the foundation everything is built on. It confirms that your vehicle and all installed parts meet legal requirements and may be driven on public roads. Every modification to your vehicle has the potential to affect that permit. And this is exactly the problem that most vehicle owners systematically underestimate. Here's the point I cannot fully explain in this video. There's a method that lets you carry out every modification safely and legally without falling into the expensive inspection traps I see every day in my shop. I've documented it in the auto research. Link in the description. But let me show you now how the system really works. For decades, there were two ways to legalize a modification in Germany. First, the general operating permit for vehicle parts known as the ABE, identified by a 5-digit KBA number on the part. Second, the component certificate, which allowed a cheap installation inspection at the technical authority, 50 to 80 euros. Then the Federal Motor Transport Authority conducted a systematic market review, and what it found changed everything. The consequence? Since June 20th, 2025, no new component certificates may be issued. Instead, manufacturers must apply to the Federal Motor Transport Authority for a national component type approval, known as the TTG. Stricter requirements, more documentation, and many smaller manufacturers will avoid the expense entirely. Their products will end up without any valid approval. The second problem, old component certificates issued before June 20th, 2025 lose their validity for the cheap installation inspection by June 20th, 2028. After that, they can only be used as the basis for a full individual inspection under Section 21 of the Road Traffic Licensing Regulations. What costs 50 to 80 euros today can cost several hundred after that date. Stop. I need to be honest with you here. What I just showed you can save you hundreds of dollars if you know it in time. That's what I can show in a YouTube video. But there are 3 guides I will not show here. First, the complete overview of which parts under the new TTG system are still approval-free and which ones require a mandatory inspection at a technical authority. Second, the step-by-step guide for a full individual inspection, so you know what to bring, what the inspector will ask, and how to avoid unnecessary rejections from the start. Third, the critical combination error that 90% of vehicle owners make, which causes 2 correctly approved parts to lose their validity together. If you only watch this video, you have the surface. The auto research shows you the full depth, plus oil changes, brakes, battery, tires, and everything still to come. One access, all guides, permanently. Link in the description. But now the worst case scenario, your operating permit expires. Lowering kit correctly registered. Months later, TTG wheels the dealer calls approval free. What the dealer doesn't tell you, that approval only covers stock configuration, not a modified vehicle. Both approvals lose their validity together, full individual inspection required, and until then, you're driving without insurance. I've seen owners left with thousands in damages because one modification wasn't properly registered. If you've made it this far, you understand what this is really about. Is this summary enough for you, or do you want the complete guides so you know exactly what is and isn't allowed? The auto research shows you what I cannot show in any video. Vehicle modifications, oil changes, brakes, battery, and everything still to come. Link below. Now let me show you the 5 areas that cause the most problems in Germany. What to do when you realize a modification on your vehicle isn't properly registered? Simple answer. Don't drive the vehicle on public roads until the situation is resolved. Fines for driving without a valid operating permit start at 50 euros and can reach 270 euros plus a point on your license. The real risk is an accident without insurance coverage. Contact an approved inspection authority immediately. TÜV, DEKRA, GTU, or KUS. Often, a simple installation inspection for 50 to 80 euros is enough. Sometimes a full individual inspection is required. In rare cases, the part must be removed. The key point? Act before the TÜV, the police, or an accident forces you to. They cover 90% of the cases I've seen in 20 years as a mechanic. Let's start with the combination that causes the most surprises: wheels and suspension. You buy a lowering kit first, have it properly registered, everything clean. Months later, you buy new wheels with a valid TTG approval. Both parts are legal on their own. But the wheel approval only applies to stock configuration, not to a vehicle with a modified suspension. Result: a new individual inspection is required, where the inspector verifies that the wheels have adequate clearance in every steering and suspension position, and that the minimum ground clearance of 8 centimeters is maintained. The second major problem area: exhaust systems. Many drivers assume a sports exhaust with an ECE approval number is automatically approval-free and problem-free. If it exceeds the standing noise level registered in field U1 of the vehicle registration document, the operating permit expires, no exceptions. Even when the noise limit is respected, a combination with other engine or intake modifications can make a full individual inspection mandatory. The third problem area: LED retrofit kits for headlights. They've become enormously popular in recent years, and many come with an ECE approval. What most buyers don't know: the ECE approval only applies if the vehicle's headlight housing is explicitly approved for that specific LED type. In many older vehicles originally fitted with halogen headlights, that is not the case. An LED bulb with ECE approval installed in a non-approved halogen housing is not legal in Germany, regardless of the ECE number on the product. The fourth problem area: engine optimization and chip tuning. Any modification to the engine electronics, any power increase without official approval, changes the vehicle's emissions behavior. Worsening emissions behavior is one of the 3 legally defined reasons the operating permit expires under Section 19 of the Road Traffic Licensing Regulations. Most chip tuning offers in Germany operate in a legal gray zone that can become very expensive for the vehicle owner. The fifth and most underestimated problem area in practice: lift kits on pickup trucks. In recent years, pickups have become significantly more popular in Germany. VW Amarok, Ford Ranger, Toyota Hilux, Mitsubishi L200, Isuzu D-Max. And with that popularity, modifications have become more popular too: lift kits, fender flares, larger tires. What many pickup owners don't know: Germany is one of the most restrictive countries in Europe when it comes to lift kit approvals. A lift of more than 50 millimeters requires a full individual inspection in most cases. Even lifts below that threshold can require an inspection when combined with wider tires or modified fenders. A lift also changes the headlight angle, the axle geometry, and potentially the clearance between tires and wheel arches. Every one of those changes can be flagged as an unapproved modification at a police check or a roadworthiness inspection. I had a customer with a Toyota Hilux where a dealer had sold and installed a complete lift kit and told him everything was legal and registered. At the next roadworthiness inspection, no valid approval for his specific vehicle model. Result: full individual inspection required. Costs over 600 euros, plus mandatory corrections to the headlight alignment and axle geometry. Until the inspection was passed, the vehicle could not be operated on public roads. That is not an exception. That is daily practice in Germany. And it's exactly the point most vehicle owners only understand once it's too late. The dealer who sold you the kit carries no legal responsibility for your operating permit. That responsibility lies entirely with you as the vehicle owner. Now let me show you the other side. What works without problems? Wheels and rims with a valid TTG or ABE on an unmodified stock vehicle are generally approval-free if all conditions are met and the documents are carried in the vehicle. Sports exhausts with a valid EC or ECE operating permit that don't exceed the registered standing noise level can be used on a stock vehicle without additional inspection. Branded brake sets with TTG or ABE are bolt-on under the applicable technical conditions. The basic rule: one approved part on an unmodified stock vehicle is the simple case. 2 or more modifications on one vehicle, even when each one individually has a valid approval, that is the complicated case. Remember this sentence: part approvals refer to the stock configuration of the vehicle. Any deviation from stock configuration can call the validity of all other existing approvals into question. Now the 5 protective measures that will keep you safe. First, document every modification in writing with the date and approval number, and keep all documents permanently in the vehicle. At a police stop or roadworthiness inspection, you must be able to prove every modification immediately with a valid document. Second, before every modification you're not completely certain about, call an inspection authority and ask whether an inspection is required. That call costs nothing. A missing inspection can cost thousands. Third, if you're planning multiple modifications, plan them from the start and have a technical expert advise you on the right sequence and combination to minimize approval requirements. Fourth, only buy parts from manufacturers who provide TTG or ABE documents and can answer technical questions. A dealer who can't tell you what approval a part has is not a dealer you should trust. Fifth, if you want to install parts with an old component certificate, do it before June 20th, 2028. After that date, only the full individual inspection applies to those parts. The TTG system did not come from bad intentions. It came from too many faulty component certificates, giving vehicle owners a false sense of security. But the consequence for the average vehicle owner is the same. It is more expensive, more complicated, and riskier to modify your own vehicle. The answer is not resignation. The answer is knowledge. Whoever knows which parts are approval-free, which combinations are allowed, and when an individual inspection is required can modify their vehicle legally and cost-effectively, without ever falling into the traps I showed you today. The TTG system has fundamentally changed the rules since June 20th, 2025. Old component certificates expire by 2028. New approvals cost more. Fewer manufacturers will bother certifying their parts. Anyone who modifies their vehicle without knowing this risks their operating permit, their insurance coverage, and ultimately their money. The good news, the system is learnable. The rules are fixed. And once you know them, you can work within them. That's exactly why this channel exists. Not to tell you what you can't do, to show you how to do it right. If this video helped you, share it with a vehicle owner who could use this knowledge. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. In the coming weeks, I'll show you which further restrictions are on the way and how you can still modify your vehicle despite them. Because knowledge is the only protection that actually works. I'll see you in the next video. Drive safe, drive legal, and wrench smart.